Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far, with OpTic Texas looking better and better with Huke in the team over the last few weeks. Many people seem to believe that Huke is going to be staying in this roster for the long term, and at the end of this season, they will not be making a roster change. That leaves Pred as an unrestricted free agent from the Seattle Surge. Where does he potentially go? With many potential offers on the table, could FaZe, as they tried to do for Shotzzy last season, decide to get Pred into their team instead? And if they did form a team of Pred, Simp, aBeZy and Cellium, what would that mean for the competition? And is that so scary that OpTic might be forced into getting Pred just to ensure it doesn't happen? Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. Plenty to dive into. Firstly, the fancy leaderboards here. I've unfortunately slipped down to 6th here. I reckon I should have picked Standy over Temp, to be honest. But, you know, all can change at the major. Jacob L currently leading it up. I believe the best team you possibly could have picked right now after the 3 weeks of the qualifiers was Octane, Ghosty, Drazah and Standy. I think that's the best 5 you could have, or best 4 you could have got for now. If you guys didn't get involved in this time, then after Major 4, before the Major 5 qualifiers, it will open up, of course, again, completely free to enter, all that good stuff. Doug also pretty funny, trying to instigate as hard as Shotzzy here. I'm mind-blown that Nameless thought Ghosty was a back pickup for OpTic, he says. We know that in the first couple of series they played with Ghosty. Nameless was like, iLLeY was the man to keep and all this type of stuff. Proved in the longer term that actually this was the correct call, and Doug was trying to get some entertainment from Nameless, but yeah, he didn't bite on this one, unfortunately, for the community. But also, speaking of OpTic Texas, this was absolutely mind-blowing. I've never seen anything like this in any Call of Duty game ever, to be perfectly honest. But Huke manages to get resurrected. So to explain the situation, we've got a scrim set here, seemingly, between OpTic and Thieves, which is already quite interesting that they're practicing against each other again, because for quite some time they weren't. But I guess that's because they were playing each other during the qualifiers, so they thought best not to practice against each other. But what happens here is Octane kills Huke. Now, Huke is calling in a kill streak here, so this is maybe what is causing this issue. I don't really know. So he takes down Huke while a streak is coming in, and then Huke, so he's dead, right? He's fully dead. Like, we just saw him get killed. But in the top left-hand side, Huke is not appearing dead on the scoreboard, and actually his arrow on the minimap here, number 3, comes back to life right there. It spins around and it comes back to life right where he died. But you can't see him on the screen. You can't see him on the quadcaster. You can't see him. You can only see him on the minimap here. But Octane can't see him. His teammates can't see him. Kenny can't see him. Like we see from Kenny's point of view in a second here, there's nobody here. But if you look at the minimap, Huke has run from this building round this side and is about to knife Octane in the back, which is what he does. Octane goes down to a knife from Huke. So this guy turned into Michael Myers mid-map. I've never seen this glitch before. I don't know if it's related to him dying while he was calling in the streak. I imagine it is. But that is such a wild one. So I don't know if you guys have ever experienced anything like that before, but wow, what a game we are playing. Huke just resurrected himself mid-map, popped camo, and then just knifed Octane off the point to win the round. And even as JP's like, he died while in a streak and literally entered God mode, invisible with a knife only. He only had a knife. That's actually even funnier, right? That he couldn't even have a real gun. He had to run around with a knife, so maybe he unlocked a secret ability there. But I mean, wow, what a wild game we're playing. If that happens at the World Championship, man, I am absolutely not ready for it. And as Dashy says, you got to block that no BS, right? So maybe there's work still to be done to understand all the nuances of this incredible game. OpTic so far, that they've been dominating the rankings in Hardpoint. Of course, they're playing Control. They're on LSELO. The numbers are pretty outrageous, actually. This is over the entire season. The highest win percentage, of course, in Hardpoint does go to OpTic. 67% of maps they've won this season. Their recent record is pretty insane. But Surge, they're the second best. Then it's Thieves. Then Ultra. Sublime is still up here. And the Breach as well in the positive. 5 teams in the negative, understandably so. Mutineers 25%, that is rough. But FaZe 44%. The weird thing for me about FaZe is actually that they still have a positive average differential, as in when they lose, they usually lose marginally, but when they win by quite a margin. Right? We actually see that OpTic's average difference in winning is not substantial. Now lately it's been pretty big, but over the course of the season it's only 20 or so, whereas actually there's a few teams in a similar boat to that. Even Ultra and Surge have a higher average difference. Even Thieves have significantly less, despite winning a very high percentage as well. But still interesting that FaZe, like, okay, they've had a few blowout maps. They beat Mutineers like 250 to 75 the other day, right, because aBeZy was going off. So maybe that's contributed to stuff like this. But still, OpTic are far and away the best hardpoint team right now. FaZe are struggling, especially against the top teams. And the performance of FaZe lately has not been particularly impressive, right? We talked about their hardpoint being pretty weak over the last stage. They've come into this stage, again, 3-6 in hardpoints. 3-2 control, 5-3 in search. And again, a 3-2 match records. Slasher has a 0.87, Cellium has a 1.23, and look, it's clear that Slasher's got to get a bit better right now, and they will need, I mean, look, last season with Arcitys, they made 4 finals, lost all of them, they wanted to win, they couldn't accept losing, so they made the change for Slasher. They come into this year, they've got top 3 times, they won an event, their results so far, probably what they would have hoped for, but they're going to have to win again, they're going to have to win something else, they're going to have to win the World Championship maybe, for them not to consider some sort of other upgrade, right? If they win 2 events this season and Slasher does well towards the end of the year and they like what he's bringing to the team and he's made their search and destroy better and he improves in the respawns, I wouldn't be surprised if they keep him around, right? We never really know what the chemistry is looking like behind the scenes and, you know, how Slasher might be helping these guys at times or even hurting these guys at other times, right? Based on his personality and some other things that we've described in the past. His average placements this year actually on for his best ever average placement, understandably so, taking over right now his Advanced Warfare and Black Ops 4 seasons for the highest average, and you can imagine this pace will continue. He is on FaZe after all. This is what they tend to do. But if we look at the top numbers this stage, we find Octane, Cellium, even Standy's up there at a 1.23, Huke is at a 1.15, Pred is at a 1.14. And this is the question that OpTic Texas have to answer. There was all the talk when they wanted to get Pred initially, and Huke was their backup option that, well, Huke's going to go at some point, Pred's going to come in. But Shotzzy is right now loving playing with Huke. Their SMG duo department is looking incredibly good. The best duo in the game right now. They're unlocking a lot of levels from Huke, but also Huke is unlocking a lot of levels from Shotzzy. Maybe Ghosty is a key part of that, but their chemistry is great, their hardpoint's great, they're going into this event as favourites. Now, still, OpTic will need to win something from now to the end of the year to keep this team together. I think if they don't win any of the final 3 events, I don't think they will stay together, to be perfectly honest. But if they win Major 4, let's say they even win the World Championship, do you then decide to pack a bunch? aBeZy is saying, look, you always pack a bunch, you always get Pred. Huke is great, I think, but Pred on a consistency basis, what he's done in the search and destroy lately, okay, Huke's been ridiculous in search as well, but like if I had to choose one of the 2 players to build a team around, I would take Pred over Huke the majority of the time, I would say. Now, whether that works better for this specific roster with the chemistry they currently have and other factors at play, that is a question to be answered. The issue is, though, if they don't get Pred, someone else is going to get Pred. Surge might keep Pred around, even though I think they would have to open the checkbook very large indeed to keep that, well, to keep that a possibility. He's an unrestricted free agent. His contract at Surge is at an end. He's going to have offers from a lot of teams. Even if Thieves do well towards the end of the year, I wouldn't be surprised if they consider getting Pred onto their roster. They've at least got to be in the conversation because they got Huke before back in Cold War when he was a big name target. Like, Thieves are the team to make that type of moves. But what about FaZe? Last year we know they wanted Shotzzy. What if they now want Pred? Could that be an option? The guys on the flank discussed it, right? That, you know, do you look to get rid of Slasher, put Simp to the AR where he might be a bit more comfortable than he currently is playing on the SMG department side of things, and bring in another premium SMG such as a Pred?
Do you believe the FaZe trio would stick with Slasher after this season? And then also, what do you think fixes FaZe's hard point? I think with the whole Slasher thing, it's kind of still up in the air. We'll see how they finish out the season, you know? Like, we'll see how the season plays out. But, I mean, if Slasher's struggles continue and they don't get the placings they want, then I could definitely see them making a change.
The placings they want, like first.
Yeah, they got to win, and that's the difficulty with it. They never made a midseason roster change, yeah. So the people calling for Austin's head this major and next major, like, they'd have to get dead last, I think, for them to even start contemplating that. I said it in the last watch party or flight, I can't remember. I could see a world, man, on some crazy where Simp goes to an AR role, plays that like slower style AR with MC, right? And then they get like
AG
premium sub because like that we already know the question next year with like AG and the whole OpTic move. Is that even going to happen with the way OpTic look? What if OpTic win champs? You think they actually drop one of their players for an upgrade superstar?
Always
here?
Pack a punch.
But here's another.
I hear you, Pat. But if that realistically doesn't happen, if Pred is available,
always
and
pack
your
a punch.
FaZe, and you don't know if you want to keep Slasher,
always
I think
pack a punch.
Trust Simp. I think I trust Simp to switch to an AR and just get Pred and.
Bro, you always pack a punch, or you regret it later. Bro, if my option is going and continuing to shoot against Pred or drop, I'm dropping, bro. Dropping instantly. And if that's the case, Get ready to learn X Defiant, buddy.
Pred's recent performance is, of course, pretty remarkable. I believe he's gone negative in one of his last 17 series now, because this is a few days ago before the final series they played, where he went positive yet again. But, I mean, yeah, these stats are incredible. And this is the thing. People might say, yeah, there's no way this is going to happen, right? It doesn't make sense if they drop Slasher, they've got to get another AR in, bring Arcitys back or something, but I don't really buy that to be the case. But what about the Shotzzy to FaZe thing? We saw last season, right? If Scump had have retired, Scump was going to retire. He told the team he was going to retire, and Shotzzy was like, well, I'm not going to build an entirely new team here at OpTic because Dashy was on his way out as well at the time. iLLeY was on his way out as well at the time. So Shotzzy was like, well, do I stay on OpTic and build an entirely new team around me? Or do I just take the FaZe offer to go play with Cell, Simp, and aBeZy? That was an offer on the table. They wanted Shotzzy. They wanted to form the Shotzzy, aBeZy, SMG duo, have Simp go to the flex, Cell be the main. I mean, Simp could 100% run the flex. I saw this guy use the M87 back in Black Ops 3 and be like the best player in the game with it. He could definitely run an AR to a very high level, and I even think his playstyle might be slightly buffed if that was the case going forwards. So if Shotzzy to FaZe was on the cards, given Shotzzy was probably maybe the hottest prospect free agent last season, we all thought OpTic were going to keep him, right, which makes sense, but still, he was an unrestricted free agent, his contract was at an end, and the same thing is now there for Pred, and Pred will get many offers from many different teams that he will have to weigh up, and you wouldn't put it past FaZe to do exactly that. And this is the concern for potentially teams like OpTic or teams like Thieves, that Pred is one of the biggest name unrestricted free agents we're going to have in some time. He's probably going to depart from a Surge team, which has been okay. They've won an event. They might win something else from now to the end of the year, but they're not ever going to be quite at the level, I don't think, that OpTic or Thieves or FaZe are operating on in terms of investment and consistency of top performances. And I would say it makes sense for Pred to go to one of those three franchises. But if OpTic don't want him because they want to stick with their roster, which is, you can't blame them for wanting to do that, he's probably going to go to one of those other two. And if that is the case, then do OpTic find themselves regretting the decision? As Zake said, next year they're still there with Huke and Shotzzy, and they're still doing well maybe in next year's title. And in fairness, if this year's game is the same as next year's, which we believe it probably is going to be, a continuation, and you know that Huke and Shotzzy work well on this game, then, you know, maybe you don't want to break it up, but at the same time, you know that Pred's great at this game as well, and he's great at every game he plays. So there is a debate to be had here, because maybe it is best for OpTic to stay as it currently is, but is it actually best for their championship chances? Because if you allow FaZe, who are currently struggling and potentially need a bit of a buff in their respawn gameplay, to bring Pred into the team and have an absolutely absurd amount of slaying on the roster and figure everything else out later, like, that is one of those teams that you can't really say no to if you're FaZe, if the opportunity was there. Would Pred say no to that? If the OpTic offer disappears and Pred's like, well, do I join FaZe, do I not? It's kind of a no-brainer for him, and Shotzzy was going to do it last year before Scump decided to return, and then Shotzzy wanted to stay because he was great friends and teammates with Scump, so therefore Shotzzy was staying around. And Scump, honestly, by coming back, straight up saved OpTic's future, because if he hadn't have done that, and Shotzzy, the biggest personality right now we have in the scene that's competing, went to FaZe and wouldn't have maybe shown that personality to the same degree that he presently is, it'd have been a very different story for OpTic. So Scump still gave them a chance by sticking around this season, but man, that is a scary proposition, is it not, that Pred to FaZe could be a thing? And yet there were some questions about that team, just like I had questions when there were rumors about Dashy to FaZe, and it was going to be Dashy, Cellium, Simp, and aBeZy. I had questions about that team. I'm still not sure that team would be fantastic, but the idea of Pred going there with those guys is certainly a different level of concern for the rest of the league. So very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Just wanted to finish out with this quickly, the schedule for the tournament. Thursday's a banger, right? Minnesota Thieves, we start with the DoorDash Challenge, then Vegas Subliners, Boston versus Texas, and then FaZe Surge, probably the game of the day last off. The Friday, though, the first three games are probably going to be quite dull. Does depend, though, who wins these series. And I believe there was some talk that they changed around the schedule on the Friday such that the final game used to be the winner of the first two matches of the day, which meant that those guys were very cold by the time they got to the final game. That's now changed, I believe, so it's instead the winner of maybe the second or the third game. So I think they might have changed the schedule somewhat to try and accommodate what people wanted, but only on Friday. They're still not changing the Sunday, which is the winners finals first, which has been a very controversial topic itself. But very much enjoyed to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.